Today we're going to be making a hardcover video book. If you ever wondered what makes a hardcover book hard, there are actually boards, really thick paper boards, just like this one, placed inside the hardcover casing. So we need to cut two boards, actually three. We need one for the front, one for the back, and a spine. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to look at the measurements here. All right, so I need two pieces of 6.37 by 6.15 inch and one piece of 6.37 by 0.53 inches. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to set this guillotine cutter to 6.37. Actually, it won't fit properly, so I'm going to have to cut this in half. Let's cut it down to 9 inch. This is a 12 by 18 sheet, so 9 inches is the halfway point, and that way I can easily fit it better. Alright, so now we have two identical boards, and now let's go ahead and set this to 6.37. And just so it's more precise, I'm going to cut at least this step individually, individual cuts. So let's do one board first. Oh, that didn't cut all the way. Let's try it again. There you go. Sometimes you have to do it again, and it's a little bit tough. And that is actually why we're using a guillotine cutter instead of other cutters, like a die cutter, because this one is a bit more of a heavy-duty machine. Okay, let's go ahead and cut the other one. I think the blade actually may need changing. Should be okay for now. Alright, so the 6.37 is a long edge, and I'd like to mark it ahead of time simply because when we do the finished cut, so 6.37 one edge, there's 6.53 is the other edge. It's very close, so it actually looks like it's square. So I just want to mark the long side because we do need to place in the book correctly. All right, next is 6.15. No, so let's go ahead. I can cut this step. I can cut it together. All right, at least that cut fine. So we have two boards, one for the front, one for the back. Now we are needing the spine part. And this is a small strip, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the 6.37 setting. Let's cut a little piece out of that. Okay. Then I'm going to rotate, put it back in. And we need a 0.53 inch size strip there, so I'm going to first do an initial cut. Let's do it at 5.03. So I'm just doing a first cut, and then I'm going to minus the 0.53 from this number, and that ends up being 4.5. Alright, so this is scratch, and what we're left over are these three pieces. So that's what's going to form the casing of the book. Looks like that. I'm here on the main press, and we're going to be printing on the sticker sheets, and this is for the front cover. We print on sticker sheets because it's easiest for us because it already has adhesive attached to it, and we have lots of sticker sheets as we do have a sticker company as well, division that does stickers. So it works out really well. Let's go ahead and start the print. So I'm just gonna print out a sheet here, and hopefully it won't take too long. Oh, it just needs to raise the tray before it starts, and there you go. Now, while that's printing, I already started the laminator, And this laminator we use on small runs because it's the easiest and it's the quickest to just start up and start running. Unlike our other laminators, which great for long runs, but long setup times, and it's just a little bit more cumbersome because it is a bigger machine. So depending on the job, we use certain either a larger laminator or a smaller one. In this case, it's just a small one. So let's go ahead and start this off. And I think it's heated. Yes, it is. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Close, start, and let's run. So I actually have an extra sheet here. I'm going to go ahead and laminate this too as well. So the lamination that we use is this gloss, really good digital gloss lamination. It also has UV protection properties, but in this case the book, it probably doesn't matter that much. But we just use this for our main gloss lamination because it's just more convenient. And again, like to change roles and to do setup on machines, it takes some time. So, all right, looks good. Look at that. All right, so I'm just gonna put the scrap sheet in here so that I'm able to take out and cut that sheet from that exit, from the exit. All right, so I'm just gonna wait for that scrap sheet to pass through the exit roller and okay, off and off. So let me go ahead and cut this, and then we're going to go to the die cutting machine, and I'm going to show you how that is done, okay? So I just quickly cut the sheets enough just to separate them. If you notice, there's still lamination hanging over the edges, and that is fine because we're going to let the CNC machine over there do the final cut. But I just needed to separate the sheets just so that I could load it into our auto feeder unit attached to the CNC machine. That fits nicely. And I have the file loaded, so in the software, but I do need to send it to the machine itself. Let's go send. And I'm going to go ahead and collect the sheet. So right now it's picking up the sheet. And if you notice, it shakes the sheet so that it won't, the sheets underneath it won't stick to the top sheet. All right, so let me go ahead and find that circle mark. There you go, and let's try it out. So I'm using a drag knife, and it's just trimming down the sheets so that we're able to work with it and put the boards in. I think I could speed it up actually, it's going quite slow. I'm going to speed up on the next sheet. But it did cut fine. Okay, so this should go a lot faster. Alright, so I'm going to take these two sheets, I'll let the rest cut by itself. The machine's totally fine if I leave it unattended. And then off to the next step. So the next step is to attach these boards to the print to make the outer hardcover case. And we do have a special machine that we have. It's a simple machine, but it works in a way that it has these many guides and these certain tools. We've got a cutter and a roller in here, and you'll see how that works in a bit. That will allow us to efficiently and more accurately place these boards onto this printed sheet with an adhesive. So let's show you how that works. I already did set up the guides of the machine itself, so this is going to be hopefully fairly quick. And I'm gonna go put these aside just for a sec, get it out of the way. And what we need to do, we need to remove the backing, the silicone backing, so that we can expose the adhesive. This is the sticky surface. And if we, I don't know if you can hear it, if the mic is picking up, but you can hear that I turned on the machine, and not only is there a light, but there's actually a fan. These fans were is inverted, so it's actually sucking, not blowing, and it is sucking the paper down so that holding it down, pulling it down so that it would be more easier and flat, and we can put it to these guides a lot more easier. So I'm just going to place it along the top and left guide. Okay. Try to be as precise as possible. And then this, we're going to drop down. This is a holder that's going to hold the sheet in place while we start attaching these boards. It also has a non-sticky Teflon. Actually, no, I think it's silicone. Silicone surface so that it doesn't stick. And let's go ahead, engage that clamp, and I'm going to remember why I wrote the arrow so that I know this is the long side, which is upwards. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place this. I'm pushing it against the guide and against the guide on the right. And then with my hand, I'm just going to add pressure to the bottom here so that it's semi-stuck. It's not fully, but the bottom is a bit anchored. Same thing with the board on the right. Okay. And this strip just goes in the middle here. So I'm just gonna like tuck it in here with my finger. Again, I'm trying to push it up so that it's kind of straight. There you go. And I'm gonna carefully lift up the clamp so it's somewhat disengaged. Alright. And I'm gonna pull this back towards me as straight as I can. The reason why is because if I pull it sideways, it might shift these boards over because these guides might be colliding with it. Alright, so we do need to, what I like to do is I like to run this through a silicone roller. We do have one right here. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. Oh, it actually needs, the roller does need to be adjusted. Alright. So that's just basically laying the image a lot flatter onto the board. So it's the adhesive is completely stuck. And the roll does a pretty good job at not leaving any wrinkles. So that worked out well. Alright, the next step would be we are going to cut off the corners. That's a necessary step because when it's folded in, the corners is going to be overlapping. We don't want that overlap. And this machine also has this paper cutter. This paper cutter is similar to one of the office cutters. I mean, the school, the education, or maybe the home office cutters. But it does have these guides, which is a 90-degree angle, that would guide the board in so that it cuts at a 45-degree angle. So you can see here, see that? That kind of fits in snugly. So let me lift up the blade. I'm going to pull this in here. And then I'm pushing it against the guides, and now I can cut. So, and I'm going to repeat on the other three corners. All right. Now, the next step, we're going to wrap this long side around. And there's actually a roller underneath here that does the job. So there's a little bit of a technique, and there's actually two rollers in here, and what you try to do is you try to angle this so that the sheet is partially inside, but it's not really touching anything, so it's kind of loose, and it's still above the rollers. There's two rollers under here, and I'm kind of feeling for the top roller. So when you do that, I'm putting pressure on the top part with my hand, and I'm rolling it right against the roller, and then until I feel the second roller, which I do now, so it's actually in between them, I can feel it. And then when I do feel that, then I'm going to go push it down. I'm going to push it down again just to make sure. And when I pull it out, you'll see how clean that wrap is. And go ahead and do the other side. So let's get it in there first. 1, 2. And now we got to do the short sides. But before we do that, if we fold this just like this, see how you get that little point? That little point. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. So to avoid that, we just have to tuck this little piece in. And you can do that with a tool, but you know, if you have a fingernail of some kind, then you can actually do it just with your fingernail. You just need to tuck it in like that. And the same thing with the short side, so we'll put it in. Right, and there you have it. So this is the hardcover part of the book. Now we need to create the book block, which is the insert that's going to go inside the hardcover book. In this case, it's a video unit with a printed wrap. We actually put a nice soft touch lamination on it. So this is a very nice, going to be a very nice looking book. Okay, so we do need to put adhesive here. So let me get a strip. Right. Right, so let's just assemble this as we normally would. So we just put this strip here so that we can, once assembled, just slide in this video unit. Okay, so let me just fold everything. All right, let's add the video unit. Just going to temporarily remove the screen protector so that it doesn't get in the way. And let's just slide in. Oh, it's upside down. And I'm going to turn it on just to see what it looks like. This is actually not the video, by the way. This is just a test video that we loaded, and a random one. So if you're wondering why is it playing this video, don't worry, it's just a test. I put it on so that I can kind of see if it aligns, the image aligns with the cutout of the window, which it does. Okay. All right, I think that's good. So let me just remove the adhesive liners and start attaching it. Okay. We do the back side. All right. So we're going to actually add adhesive to this prior to attaching it to this hardcover. So it's going to look something like this in the end, right? But before we attach it, I'm also going to flatten it a bit because it makes it easier when it's completely flat. I'm going to actually add some tape here just to. Now this is actually painter's tape, and it's a good temporary adhesive that doesn't leave residue. So we actually use this quite a bit in some of our production process to temporarily adhere things together. And in print, it's important because to have a non-residue adhesive, because if we need to temporarily put this on something, if we take it off, we don't want that adhesive to be on the print. Especially this type of work, I mean, a lot of print shops, you know, they work for cheap and they do a lot of quantity. For us, though, I mean, their product is cheap as well. Not necessarily, I don't mean cheap as like it's poor quality, but I do mean like relatively speaking, they're not spending how much for a video screen compared to a regular paper-only book. So if there's any imperfections, then our customers would have a little bit more of a problem of it. All right, so there you go. Yeah, so that's why we, if it was adhesive that's left on it, then it might be an issue. All right, next step, let's go attach this to the hardcover case. Alright, so I'm back at the bookmaking station, and now it's time for us to attach the book block with the video unit to the hardcover case. And we do that by using this machine now. And this machine is, again, it's a simple one. And we're just using this feature, which is the guides that allow us to more accurately align the book block to the hardcover case. By align, I mean properly center it so it looks really good. I mean, that's important. That's something that you can't do really. I'm not going to say it's impossible because I've actually done it, but it's hard to do it by hand. This machine actually makes it a lot easier, and especially if you're doing more than one book, if you're doing like 50 books, it's a pain in the butt if you do it by hand. So let's begin. I already set up this machine, so I'm not going to touch it. I don't want to fit around with it just to show you. Like we can do some adjustments, but that might actually change the settings of the machine. So I am going to use this knob, and this will allow me to clamp the hardcover case in. And this is the book block. In this case, it has a video unit. So first, I'm going to just use an ATG gun, an adhesive transfer gun, and just apply some adhesive to it. I think I actually started the video unit. Oh, there you go. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line it up against this edge and just lay it down. So I'm gently pushing it towards the right and pushing it towards me so that it lines up with the guides. All right. Next, I am just going to add ATG on this part. Let me reclamp it again. Alright, so I'm going to just fold over the book, and what I'm doing is I'm pushing it against this guide here so that it's straight. And I'm also checking, I'm mostly standing above it, looking straight down, seeing if it lines up. Okay, and once I am happy with it, I can commit it by just pushing down on the back panel. Okay, so I'm just going to lift up to release it, push it down more, and there you go. So I can actually open it up and remember put the painter's tape. So I'm going to open up carefully. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape. And see if it works. And it does. So the last step would be to place it into this crimper machine. And what this does, it basically uh, allows it to open more easily. It basically pinches the edge here, right? We have it so that there was actually no board be, between the spine and like beside the spine, there's actually just more or less paper. We can see like a gap, and we can crimp that area. It looks a lot cleaner if we do it, and it actually helps open it more. So let's see if I can just place it in here. Okay. And we're gonna leave it for a few minutes and we'll come right back. Alright, so it's been sitting here for about 5 minutes now. Let's just check it out. Alright, and if you can see, it adds that little nice, clean, crisp crimp. Now don't worry about it being uneven. Once you open the book and close it, it's gonna fix itself. But you see that line, that crimp? So that's like a little bit of a premium look, but there's also functionality. So it does have a utility purpose to it, where it does help open up more. All right, let's check it out. Let's see if the video works. I'm just gonna bring it over here under better light. Take a look. All right. So it looks like it's working. And that is a hardcover video book.